a little bit about what are some of the scheme changes that you want to make and how you want this offense to evolve?
Well, I think we want to streamline. We want to make it better for all of our players, Lamar especially, and streamline it in a way that we become a more consistent offense. And everybody's striving for that. I thought there was a lot of really good things from last year. We can certainly strive to be more consistent. Certainly start faster. We've got to work to start faster. I think that's inevitable. But year two, we should be able to do that.
Todd, it's the first time we got a chance to talk to you since the AFC Championship game. When you look back at that game, do you have any regrets about the way you guys went offensively?
Obviously. I mean, I try not to look back. I appreciate that. But it is what it is. We didn't play well enough. Didn't coach well enough. Didn't execute at a high level, and that starts with me. I mean, that's the way it goes. I mean, certainly we could have run the ball better, could have executed better, not turn the ball over. But that's what you do. The only way you look back is to learn and get better. What didn't we do well? What was the plan we initially went in with? Was it execution, or did we not stick with the plan? That's part of it. Just like it would have been, just like it was the week before. Just like it was the week before that. It just happened to be that. And it's disappointed, but it's on 2024.
Sorry to linger on this a moment, but I think John said at the time that a lot of folks looked at the rushing attempts in the second half. I think there were 6, and John said somewhat dictated by the terms of the game. Is that kind of what you see looking back on it?
Somewhat. I mean, if you said, well, the rushing attempts were by the backs. It wasn't just complete. I mean, Zay Flowers had a couple, and Lamar did. So I'm not trying to justify the shit. I promise you that. I'm not. I'm just saying in general we needed to run the ball better, and we didn't. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, we didn't. You can't control the game if you can't run the football, and then not execute at a high level when it presents itself. And there were moments in the game we did, but not enough. And second half needed to run the ball better, but we did give ourselves an opportunity in the second half. That's looking at it. That I don't regret, because we did give ourselves a chance in the second half. We got down the red zone. We did move it, but we got to run the ball better. We got to attack them the way we plan to attack them, and I got to do a better job. That's the way it is. I mean, that's what I'm paid to do, and that is do it against the best. When it counts. That's it.
How does Derek? Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
How does Derrick Henry shift the equation for you? Is there something you look more at in your offense?
I don't see that. I just see another good football player. I mean, Gus had a tremendous year for us. I mean, in terms of yards, touchdowns, and we expect the same from Derrick. He's a tremendous football player. He's been great. He's been here a whole off season, and doesn't really change anything per se. Because to me, he's a really versatile player. I mean, not only running the ball, but getting the ball in space, and throwing him the ball, and getting him out on the perimeter, and see if some of your defensive backs can tackle him. So that's why we're doing this now. That's why we're here now. To work through that and see what we have. Because no one here has worked with him. So now we're just seeing what that is and giving him those opportunities.
Todd, I know you're saying you don't think you have to change a lot with Derrick. In terms of formation-wise, do you expect to maybe be more? A lot of talk has been how he's been a lot of under center formations. Do you expect to do that a lot more?
I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's we were under center some this year, and we were in gun some, and I expect to be the same depending on where we go from here. Do I think that's what they did? Yes, but we're not them. If that makes sense. Like with having Lamar. Is that always advantageous to us to be under center? Probably not. Is there something to that? Yes. So we'll try to do the best we can to balance the two. Because you're right, there is a lot of good looks at him playing at the dot, under center.
Todd, I know Eric and John were very excited about getting Tez Walker. What are your early impressions of him? What are your hopes for him? What did you think from what you'd seen of his?
Quick learner. Okay, let's start with that. So that's impressive, to show up and be able to play multiple spots. And it's not just knowing your assignment, but I think he's done a great job of executing a technique. That makes sense because there's nuances with routes. It's not just a drawing. There's other nuances with coverage and adjustments. That was something I wasn't expecting. So that was what I'm excited about. And obviously his speed shows up in his length. So that's been exciting, and I will just continue to work with him. And that's what you do with your young players. And this is a great time to develop. And that's what you love about this time of year is because once you get after a couple weeks, even in the preseason, it's go time. Now it's who are we, who plays. But at this point, how do we develop them? our skills, and then how do we drill it to get the most out of our players and create the best version of them.
Todd, at
Do you
the end of
think
this,
as a go ahead, Cordell.
at the end of the season, John Harbaugh had talked about you guys have went back to the drawing board trying to, continue to advance this offense. How much of this offseason was put into the trying to get the most out of Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews?
Well, everything was going back to the drawing board to say who we want to be moving forward, offensively. And that is what you do every year, but even more importantly after your first year, because there's always things you look back and go, all right, we put that in, and now that we look at it, hey, let's go this direction, let's do this, let's move in these certain directions we want to go. But certainly, with the way Isaiah Likely came on and having Mark, Pat Ricard, the wideouts we do have tremendous skills, so it's how do we utilize each player and their elite skill set? What is that? How can we utilize that? So that has been a big part of the offseason with those guys. And how do we get them when and how on the field that allows us to be very consistent on offense and score touchdowns. That's it.
How do you feel like you guys as a whole need to do a better job getting Sean Bateman more involved?
Oh, for sure. Last year was interesting in the fact that we had Odell. And at the beginning, Bate had missed all season. Then he missed some of fall camp. So is he going to be healthy? So put Odell at X, And then beginning of the year, Bateman gets kind of banged up a little bit, so does Odell. So here you are, beginning of the year, but you're already in the season. So now we certainly could have done a better job of moving them around for sure. And but as the year went on, Rashad really came on. And I've seen tremendous growth. But again, growth is just because he didn't have an off season last year in my mind. I didn't see that. But I expect a tremendous year on him. We certainly could have found a way to give him the ball more. But, that's a good thing because last year we did have Mark. Then we had, say, Likely. Then we've got, say, Flowers. And then you've got Odell. And after a while, then you're winning games. So you're running the ball. So why does Gus Edwards have all those touchdowns? Where are the rushing yards? Well, you're winning games, and that's part of it. So when that happens and you have a lot of skill players, it's going to come that way. Like, why didn't he get more touches? Well, because he touched it. And why did he? Well, Justice did. So that's a good problem to have. It really is. Or Lamar took off and ran. All those things that we're lucky to have, and we continue to have great skill players.
You lose a lot of experience up front from last year. You guys rotated in Daniel and Ben a lot last year, and obviously had some injuries to some of the guys who've left. But what do you kind of feel like is the biggest gap that you'll need to cover from the guys you lost from last year and how well that line played last year?
Well, you're right. We did rotate those guys, which was invaluable experience, because you have game tape, not just preseason tape, but against frontline starters of how they played. And it's easy to show them on tape where they need to improve, where that is. It's not third quarter of the first preseason game. It's against the best in the world. And so you do have some tape to go back and look. And again, we're in the development business. That's why you draft players. That's why they keep coming up in development. When you look at the left guard situation here, we end up with, I think his name was Powers, who was here and developed, and he went on. And then you get John Simpson, and you develop him, and then you feel good enough that they went on to make money somewhere else because you developed them. So that's what we're in development business right now with Ben, and you've got some of the young guys that we drafted a year ago, like Big Sal and Maurice, and you've got, Daniel. All those guys are getting invaluable reps now, and obviously once we put the pads on for them, where it'll really be critical, right? You put the pads on, we get a chance to play in the preseason, and then you can assess, hey, as they keep developing, what are their strengths? What do we need to continue to work on? And they're doing a great job now, and I expect them to play at a really high level. I really do.
Tyler, are you looking, just to follow up on that a little bit, are you looking for maybe a little more athletic of an offensive line? I mean, you always want physicality, you want to run the football, but with more zone, maybe the natural progression from what these guys did a couple years ago offensively to where you are now?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to say that because everybody's looking for the same guys, right? Big, smart, physical, athletic, like, okay. And then at that point when you're drafting, it's like, well, let's just take the best player. Like it's football. If we have to run more gaps, keep running gaps, run outside zone, inside zone. Hey, it's like tight end. Like, all right, if we don't have this guy, we have that guy, let's try to fit the pieces where they may be. Certainly would you like to have athletic linemen for sure. But when you have like Ben and you you have like Daniel, you have some bigger guys, well then we might have to run more power. We might have to be more depth and then play to whoever our strengths are, the players that we have.
With Derrick Henry, I mean, when he's healthy, he's a guy that gets pretty much average like 300 carries per season. With him getting up in that age, that 30 year, do you think you have to manage his workload, or do you kind of expect him to take his usual workload for the career?
Well, I know this, if he carries it 300 times, we're having a hell of a year. I can tell you that. It means we're running it a lot, right? It means that's we're up in games, right? We want him to finish. We want him to be the closer, right? First and foremost, like every player, we want him to make it through the season. It's a long season, 17 games, you know. You've got a bye week in there, you know, and then you go from there. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, he's been so durable. But I thought we did a good job last year of rotating the backs. I mean, Gus was powerful, but we split the reps. Now we had Keaton who came on, and we had Justice and those guys, but I still anticipate the same of, you know, using all of our backs, try to put him in the best position to be successful.
Todd, a lot.
Last one. Todd, yesterday, when Lamar, when he was talking to us, he said he lost weight to be more agile. Have you seen that agility? Have you seen any differences in his movement, and how you think that'll help him going into this season?
Well, I can't comment maybe to where he was a few years ago and compared to last year, but I always thought he was agile. I always thought he was fast and hard to bring down. So, does he look great? Yes, he looks great. You know, has he worked hard? I assume that he worked hard to get that. I'm sure he didn't go on a hunger strike to lose the 20 pounds, so he's probably worked hard at it, you know, to get to that point. So, I'm excited, you know, for him. He's motivated. He looks great. We're all motivated. You know, it is what it is. I mean, it was disappointing, but it's on to 2024, and you know, I'm jacked. I'm fired up for where we're headed. We've had a great off season, and every day we get to come out here with our guys, man, is awesome.